Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time since I've made a video on anything to do with the Wheel of Time. And last month we got an absolute amazing amount of news to cover, and so I thought I would kind of make my unexpected return to the scene and yes, start off with this particular video. So without further ado, let's jump right in and go over what we're going to be discussing in today's video. So we're going to start off with Season 2's release date. After that, we're going to discuss Season 2's episode stills. After that, we're going to discuss changes to the story and plot points. And then to summarize and round up my final thoughts on this news. Now, what's really interesting to me is how they go about actually releasing these episodes, because this is no longer the first season, so they don't necessarily have a need to release 3 episodes simultaneously on the first week of release for the second season. And I actually do not want them to do that, because I think for a number of reasons. So number one, it just takes away the amount of weeks we have with the show as a whole. So instead of getting 8 weeks, which is roughly 2 months worth of Wheel of Time content, we would be down to about 1.5. And then this has a secondary knock-on effect, of course, and that's when the likes of social media, us, YouTubers and fellow content creators out there discussing the show itself, it's going to have less of an impact because of having 3 less weeks, or 2 less weeks I should say, because releasing 3 episodes in the first week cuts down 5 episodes to Moraine to be released, and so that's only 5 more weeks instead of having 8 as a total. And I just think with the way social media is, it is just generally better to have a prolonged exposure in the limelight, whether that be negative or positive, because all news is good news as far as I'm concerned when it comes to the show. So yeah, that's what I personally want to see happen. I want to see a weekly episodic release schedule, 1 every week, so for 8 weeks. But how about you guys watching this video? Do you want to see a simultaneously weekly release schedule, or would you like to have a batch of 3 episodes in that first week to binge? Moving on, let's now discuss the episode stills that we got. So what's really interesting is we know which episodes each of these stills belong to. So we have 2 stills from episodes 1, 3 and 8. And then we have we have single stills from episodes 4 and 5. So of course that leaves 6, 7 and 2 without any stills. So yeah, that's quite interesting to see why they went and did that. Who knows why that is. But anyway, let's move on and start with the stills from episode 1. So those are the stills of Ed Green in the White Tower, as well as Matt Coltham as well. Now, what I really like about this photo with Matt is it really encapsulates his current mindset at the start of season 2. Because as we all remember, at the end of episode 7 or 8, he actually doesn't travel with the group to Faldara, as he doesn't go through the Ray Gate. And then this, of course, has the knock-on effect of him having the Shadar Lugoth dagger, which is going to be having an effect on him physically as well as mentally. And I think this still really captures that particular fight that he's currently having with himself and the dagger. Very much how he's isolated himself from all his friends in the final couple of episodes of season 1. We see him kind of pick up where he's left off. And so what I like is he's obviously in a very dark room. He has no lights, I would presume, except this one single flicker from this candle or kind of lamp. And this really showcases how, I would say, his mind internally is very much being, portrayed here on this still. He's very much in a dark place, and he only has this glimmer of light to illuminate him. And that's how he has to kind of make his way out of there. Moving away from that, we have the picture of a green washing the dishes in the Tower kitchens in Tar Valon in the White Tower. Now, what I think is really striking, of course, is she's in her accepted robes. What's interesting, we cannot see the full dress as such, so we don't know whether they have kind of kept the 7 Adja colours that were represented on this accepted robes or novice's outfit, whichever it is. I can't really remember what is what off my head, just kind of winging it right now. But as far as the actual Tower kitchen itself, it's very much how I would have thought and presumed it would look. It's very much just built for purpose. It's not there for any kind of decorative outlook or decorative display. It's just there to, prepare meals, wash up dishes, and of course for any accepted or novices that are not pulling their weight or being troublesome to fellow Aes Sedai and accepteds and novices, they will be sent for penance down to the kitchens. So yeah, this kind of really brings back a few memories from Ed Green's kind of couple of arcs within her time in the White Tower. I will not get into spoilers, but for some of you, I know you will know what I am talking about. Right, moving on, let's move to episode 3, where we have the stills of Nynaeve and Lan. Now, what's really interesting to me is starting off with the Nynaeve photo. She is, of course, very much is in the moment of having her accepted test, and she's, of course, in the White Tower testing chamber. And this appears to be the set that we saw Rafe was in during the kind of JordanCon video where we were introduced to Bane, Chiad and Arienda. There's a lot of speculation among the fandom whether that was or wasn't within the White Tower and it being the Tower testing chambers, but I think this still image now fully confirms to us that that was in fact the Tower testing chambers. What's going to be really interesting is to see how they actually handle the test itself, because of course, as we all know, it goes through 3 stages. Every accepted that goes through this will have what is, what was, what could be or will be. Excuse me. And if I'm not mistaken, certain elements that take place within Nynaeve's test hasn't actually happened thus far in the show in terms of some of the set pieces, and what they do and whether they kind of showcase that is still up for debate as far as I'm concerned. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it, whether they kind of take away from the test, make it like just one portion of a test instead of 3. I don't know. I really hope they don't do that. I hope it's a prolonged test, the full test in which we see it in the books and how it's written down by Robert Jordan himself. Moving on to the picture of Lan, there's really not much to say here. He's on Mandar, his horse. He's in a kind of forest in the wilderness, no doubt on a quest Moraine has sent him on. What that is, I don't know. And of course, it's just going to be really interesting to see how the dynamics between the two of them plays out in this second season, because of course, as we all know, Moraine's story has taken a dramatic acceleration, shall we say, and a change as well. More to the point, a change has occurred. So of course, as we know, at the end of episode 8, she had herself shielded from the One Power. And so I think that was their way of making sure she's not off screen for a prolonged period in the TV show like she is in the books. Now, speaking of Moraine, let's move on to the single still we have of episode 4, which is of course Rosamund Pike as Moraine. Now, what I really love straight away about this still image is the fact this dress, I think, is the best dress thus far that I've seen Moraine have, and this for me really encapsulates Moraine, I think, more than any of her outfits from the first season. So I like that, and of course we have a Kisiera that she's wearing as well. and she seems to be appearing to be walking through the foregate of her hometown of Kerhain. Now, of course, as I just mentioned previously, with her change in situation regarding herself being shielded, it's going to be interesting to see what she's up to, how much it differs from that in the books, because of course it's going to be a dramatic change. So they take certain things that they can still incorporate from her book story into this new story for the show. That is yet to be seen, so it's something to look out for. Now, moving on for the episode 5 still, which is to me the most interesting of all the stills released. It is the Sanction et Falme. We have, as is now still stated to be the Dark One, alongside High Lady Suroth. We also have Loyal behind them, who is no doubt being captured and is of course alive, because at the end of episode 8 of season 1, that was left up to us to see whether, is he dead, is he alive? I never thought he was dead or was going to die. So yeah, he's now kind of a prisoner of war, if you want to call him that. And of course we have a kind of servant of Suroth to her right. Now, of course, we know that because the fact she doesn't have elongated fingernails, because that, of course, symbolizes the kind of royalty and hierarchy within the Sanction as well. And it's going to be really interesting to see this change, because for me, as we all know in the books, Padan Fain was the one that was kind of in the ear of Suroth and kind of pulling all the strings here. So yeah, that's a slight change for the show coming from the books. I suppose they thought they'd have to figure a way out to bring Ishmael into the show in a more kind of main kind of protagonist point of view for them. There's no point introducing him and then him vanishing, because he's not kind of showcased a lot except alongside Rand in his dreams. So this is a way of them bringing him and making him more of an ironically important character, at least to be shown to the audience as us as viewers watching the show. And then finally we have the final 2 stills from episode 8, which is of Rand and Aviendha and Mat. So I want to start off with Mat, Perrin and Aviendha. So I want to start off with that. I absolutely love the Aiel kind of costume. I think for me, this very much is how I imagined and interpreted how the Aiel looked. Not fully to 100%. I might have changed the colour of her leather kind of external garment she has on. I think I would have maybe used a more lighter colour, because as we all know, the Aiel clothing is all about blending into the surroundings, and I think that doesn't necessarily match up for me personally, but I think they've kept the integrity and the whole idea of what the Aiel are when we're introduced to them. And as we can see, she has a spear, I believe, or it could be, yes, definitely her spear from behind. She looks like she's about to throw that at an enemy. So yeah, rest in peace to them. And of course, we see our first look at Perrin from season 2. He's obviously changed outfit, and he has now kind of gone on a separate path from where he was in the books as well. Because if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Perrin who first met Aviendha, although I could be completely mistaken on that. So I'm going to have to look up that very issue and point. And then finally we have a look at Rand in season 2. Now he is definitely in Falme in this image, because we can match up multiple other pieces of content we have seen from season 2. We have the other still images, we have the sneak peek at season 2 we had, and just the architecture and just the way the town looks at from this photo. When you match it up with all the other stills and images, it matches. So I think this is obviously, as it's episode 8, he has now made his way to Falme, and as we all know, we know what happens during his time in Falme. Now, whether they make slight changes, I really don't know. They could leave it on a cliffhanger with him fighting the Dark One above Falme. I really don't know whether they will do that. I think we need a proper ending to season 2, unlike the one we get in season 1, because it felt obviously rushed with everything that was going on, and they just kind of really had to throw pieces of a puzzle that didn't match to get an ending with what was all happening behind the scenes, and of course, in the world at that time as well. So I think we need a real strong ending, and I think it's better that they stay very much on point with the books here and just end it on the fact of Rand fighting the Dark One in the air for everyone to see. I think that's a very iconic moment for all of us. It's one of the standout moments, particularly early on in the book series, of course. And for me, it's kind of up there with obviously other, highly charged, if you want to call them, set pieces and moments we will all remember from the book series. There's a lot more dramatic ones, but it's one that I remember very vividly. Right, and now we come to the story portion and how the story as a whole for season 2 is going to look. I'm not going to spend an awful long time on here. I'm just going to briefly touch upon it because I think this deserves to have a more in-depth look at it on a separate video, so be on the lookout for that. But I think there's going to be elements that have changed. As we all know, Moraine's story has changed. Rand's story slightly is being turned on itself. Mat's story is completely being upheavaled, and he's in a completely different place in a degree as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they put all the pieces of the puzzle together, because as we all know, everyone in the books pretty much finds their way to Falme at the end of the Great Hunt. And so with the Horn of Valir obviously being taken by Padan Fain and the Fays that accompanied him, we now need to see who goes after that, because it would have been Mat. But as we all know, Mat is off doing other things now. And so it looks like Perrin, obviously, they've positioned him to take up the charge in that. And I think that's where Avienda is going to be introduced within the kind of hunt for the Horn of Valir. So yeah, those are pretty much it for this video. I think all in all, it's finally nice to see and finally find out we have a release date for the show at last. Was it 442 days, something like that we've waited for a release date. So yeah, I just kind of can't wait to get the ball rolling with the second season. I haven't watched season 1 since episode 8 aired back in 2021. So I need a refresher to see where everything was. I'm going very much off the hip with this video. It's very impromptu. But yeah, I'm very much excited and looking forward to watching season 2. And of course, we're going to have a trailer very much at some point in the very near distant future. So be on the lookout for that, because I will be covering it on the channel. Right, everyone, thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thanks for all of those who have watched it. I hardly doubt it's going to be a lot of you because of my prolonged absence. But yeah, I will definitely be posting a lot more content in the run-up to season 2 and during it. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And I will more than likely catch you all in another couple of Wheel of Time videos within the next couple of weeks, if not days. So catch you then.